So hi everyone, hi again. There's a lot of familiar faces in here already. It's quite amusing just getting distracted by the avatar stuff. But as you do that, hopefully you can just listen to the my voiceover. So yeah, we thought like kind of actually in the next over the next few months, it might be quite nice to sort of shift the emphasis a little bit on having a bit more conversation within the community, so within amongst ourselves, because I suppose a lot of the sessions so far have been a little bit more guided around a very particular theme, and obviously we talk around that theme, but sometimes we get kind of guest speakers in and things like that. But we thought it'd be quite nice to just be able to have the opportunity to chat in smaller groups amongst ourselves to find out what particular aspects of regeneration might be, you know, appealing to us or that we're specifically interested in, and then try to form a few more connections within the group of potential things that we could do together even. So it's a bit of a continuation of what we did last month. If for anyone who came last month, which John was looking at convening specifically. Um, you can come back to the avatars in a second if you like. What I'm going to just basically do here is just introduce you to a framework that we wanted to use to do what I just described, really. I just show you what I mean here. So this is on the board to the right of where those avatar things are. So I don't know if you've already come across this framework individually. This was introduced to me by Esther, one of our other stewards, and it's this community weaving framework, which we thought was quite nice actually. And there's sort of five, is it five? Five different aspects to it, and we're going to focus on the first few today. And so they talk about this kind of five different aspects to what it is to sort of build strong community really. And the first one is this what they've called the fire. So what is it that brings us together? Like why do we come together? Who are we, I guess, just individually, like our backgrounds, things like that. What do we stand for and where do we belong? And the second one is about the web. So what holds us together? So how can we strengthen our relationships? Is there anyone we can invite more fully, or is there any kind of challenges or issues within the sort of community? Then the third one is the rhythm. How do we connect? So to some extent, that's we've already got a bit of a rhythm, but what are the practices? What regular practices help us connect? Do we have other channels and ways to communicate? And then the last two are the circles, which is what roles can we play? So we already have sort of a set of stewards amongst the Steps Collective, but there might be opportunities to bring other people into the mix as well who want to play a more active role. So there's that as well. And then finally, we've got the spiral. So how do we journey together? So how do we welcome new people? Where do we want to go together? How do we support people transitioning out? So we're actually not going to focus on all of them today, but we thought, again, it's quite a nice framework to start thinking about the sort of things we might want to talk about together. And so what we would start with really is just a bit of individual sort of reflection on these first questions that we've got here. So the stuff that's in the fire, basically, which is like, some potential prompts here to help get you started are things like where do you come from? What brings you here? What do you stand for? Where do you belong? And then there might be a set of other prompts that you think are quite useful for people to think about. And so I suppose the invitation for this next bit of the session is just a little bit of like individual reflection of any other prompts that you think might be quite good just to stimulate a bit of conversation. We don't have to follow them all, but like we can just, grab these sticky notes and put them in here to kind of have some suggested prompts that we think might be useful. And then what we're going to do over on the right hand side of that is just start to plot out individually like what our responses to some of those questions are. And then what we'll do after that is the rest of the session is probably going to just be split into two halves. And the first will be more focused on this fire aspect. So, like exposing a little bit of ourselves and what we're bringing here. And then I think we'll probably come together and that will be done in smaller groups in the first half of that. And then on the web part, we'll probably come together in a slightly larger group or a couple of large groups. I mean, there's not huge amounts of us here. Was it like 10 people, maybe something like that? So we can probably do that in like two groups or maybe even all together. Um, But I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm sort of inviting you for the first like next 5, 10 minutes, just kind of reflect on these questions yourselves. Feel free to like grab some sticky notes and stick your name over on the right. I'll drag your avatar across and kind of just start to have a think about your responses to those questions. And then I'll set up some breakout rooms for us to go into in like maybe like 5, 10 minutes or so. And just give me a shout if that none of that makes sense or you've got any questions or anything.
Right, sorry. I thought that I was paying attention there, but
I
so
love it.
the
You're still playing with
box.
your avatar, I'll
I don't know what I was doing, to be honest. I was listening, but somehow not hearing, but not
Yeah, so
listening.
what the plan was for this first bit, just like a bit of individual kind of looking at these questions here that we've got within the fire and just having a think about your personal responses to that. And just
And
doing that individually for now, Algie. So there should be a space over on the right here for you to kind of, put some stickies on there and have a think about how you
that's
respond
it.
to it.
Okay.
Can we
And
pull
then
our
we'll,
avatars across, Andy? Is that the idea?
what's that? Sorry,
Can
Andrew?
we get our avatars across or something? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to do it, don't worry. I'll
Yeah, it's
copy them
cool.
across for you.
Sweet. Thank you.
Just, you can just stick your name over on the right somewhere for now if you're not sure how to copy them over. Is that all making sense? I probably overcomplicated it with the avatars, but I thought it was a cute little touch. But just adds a bit of extra complexity. Does everyone have a little space to work with?
Is there a way that we can drag the questions closer to the space? Because I find myself whipping between the two.
Yeah, maybe just let me try to paste them above. Oh yeah, someone's already done it. There we go. Is that you?
Fantastic. Thank
Spot
you.
the spot the facilitators. But like I say, feel free to add your own prompts if you think, oh, it'd be really interesting to hear people's answer to this kind of question. So you might have a question that you want to ask as well within, or just for others to consider. So I think I can see you're all still kind of thinking about those questions, but I'm going to just start these breakout rooms and probably just split you into 2 groups where you can start to chat a little bit more about those. And feel free to keep obviously adding your notes as you chat. So yeah, about to just put you into breakout rooms. Feel free to have a chat with the other couple of people you'll have in that room, just to sort of get to know each other a little bit better and talk about those questions and stuff. And then we'll probably come back here to have a think about connections between the group as a whole, maybe in about 15-20 minutes. I'll put a timer on it so you'll get a little warning before we jump out. And feel free to leave a message in chat if you're kind of not sure about anything, because I'm pretty sure I'll still be able to see that. So there should be a room open for you all now for you to join.
There must be more algae. Yeah,
Hello.
Must be more.
there must be more. That's where we ended.
Yeah, so I was going to say, how was it? Was there anything, I don't know, any highlights you think are worth sort of mentioning? Again, knowing the fact that there's a few others here that didn't hear your conversation as well. Any connections, anything of interest that you want to reflect on, share? Open invitation.
We all felt that what you stand for is a really final question. Like, what is the hill you'll die on? That was an interesting challenge for everyone. We all had things, but it was something difficult to do off the bat, like running start. We we landed up being connected by fire and hills, and that's when Algie was saying that there must be more. Hills is still pretty good.
It's a very broad community then, clearly.
I think we just got carried on in conversation, so didn't quite follow the brief, but I feel like we're connected.
Yeah, and they were really good. They were really good. So starting questions actually.
Yeah.
How did the other group get on?
Hubert thinks that we didn't want to answer the questions because we didn't.
Why was that then? Were they just not good questions, or just you just managed to somehow evade them? They were too difficult or something?
Oh, so if I'm just personally, I think I agree with there's a certain heaviness to, especially what do you stand for, and I guess it really is up to the dynamics of the conversation whether you get into that or not. And I felt personally at that point in the conversation that I really didn't want to discuss that. So that's just emotionally, I guess. Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's a bad question. It's just, it's a loaded question. Let's put it like that.
Oh, in our group, Algie started off by talking about how he felt that, well, Algie, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's an element of, interacting with people and you sort of feel that people are lying or not telling the truth. And so we started talking. We actually had a really interesting conversation, I thought, to open up, which was around layers and how we interact with other people and personas and all that sort of stuff. So in some ways, that kind of covered off some of those issues because we were kind of acknowledging that it's actually quite difficult to separate communication from, personas and fabrication or whatever in terms of how you're interacting with other people. So, I don't know whether anyone was telling the truth in our group or not, but we actually had a really interesting conversation. Even if it wasn't truth, it was kind of swirling around as maybe not, because it is. I think that what do you stand for? Like I don't think I wrote down the right thing, but I wrote down something, and that allowed us to have a conversation. But I think it's something I'll walk away and think, right, I really need to think through what I actually stand for. So
yeah, maybe there's a softer question there as well. Maybe that one, to your point, Hubert, it's a bit sort of confronting, maybe a little bit as well. Hard to get there.
Yeah, I also feel like it's amongst a group of people who probably believe in ambiguity and not dying on any hills, but just kind of going with the flow. It's I think it's interesting to have that thing of like, well, right now, what are the things that I'm like it's a big thing to stand up against. It's like, bloody hell, I should be like out protesting for Gaza right now, but not.
Well, maybe going with the flow was what you all stand for, to some extent. Maybe this sounds a bit too serious as a question.
But I think to an extent it was, because I think your point, Algie, when you were talking about people lying, also was connected to people lying in their confidence for knowing what the right solution is for problems a lot of the time. And really you're more comfortable with where people are like, let's figure it out, let's experiment on this space. And I think I can relate to that. I don't know, I can't speak for Andrew, but I feel like that was a connection point.
And Misha stands for Folkestone as well. That was very clear. She made it very clear.
Yeah, I was pitching it really hard. I was like, yeah, but it's like, have you been there?
I think it reminded me in a way. There's nothing wrong with the question. I hear you all that you know what you stand for is a very strong question. So I understand that, but I don't. That's not my sense of what we were saying in our group, Andy. Nothing. Just that was. We started out with recognizing that Nina was in a library. You know, so the kind of the reality of where we started from, and then the conversation just kind of evolved as conversations do. And I don't know. For me, there's a thing about mood. It's Friday lunchtime. It's July. School is out for the summer where I live, at least. So there's a sort of, you know, there's a mood of when this call is timed, which for me is partly relaxed. I don't mean I necessarily feel relaxed. I mean I feel the group is a relaxing, informal space.
Yeah.
And so a bit of me just was feeling mutinous, like I just, when I've entered into this virtual room, I'm kind of, that I'll leave that there. I think
a bit more escapism maybe or something, but yeah. Well, I mean, that in itself is quite an interesting recognition, like say. I think like the fact that, yeah, it's the end of the week, sort of relaxing and or, you know, whatever time of year. Yeah, I don't think there are any right or wrong answers. I think it's just interesting to hear what you've all come up with. And obviously you've all, I think most of you have been here more than once, right? Like, so you feel like you've been here a few times. So it's actually quite interesting to hear your perspectives.
I'm kind of intrigued by that idea of like, yeah, what there is something that you get fundamentally out of it. It's like I have never actually, you know, we kind of make amorphous things. We made some like poetry and stuff. I don't know but there's less of that obvious like value outcome, and yet there's just a sense of like real value in being around people. But it's like the rest of the time you go around, you know, just like no one else thinks this way. I have some people vaguely mentioning because of buzzwords regenerative or whatever, but they don't actually engage with it in any meaningful way. It's not part of their personhood or identity in any way, or really driving them. And I think that is that thing of just like, that is just being like, oh yes, let's just let this thing mutate around us, and flow with it is a fair enough and a very valuable part of what it represents to me.
Yeah, a sort of space to chill out but be among like-minded souls, kind of thing, a little bit maybe.
It's just like, I can breathe. It's like, yes, I can speak my mind on these things without feeling like I'm sounding too mental or irritated with everyone.
Yeah.
Are you any of you familiar with climate cafes or death cafes?
Yep.
Yeah. I haven't been in either of those, but I know what they are. Maybe this is a regenerative cafe.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce the idea, Pins, just for those who maybe don't know them?
I can try. I mean, as I say, I haven't been to one, but my understanding of what they are, both in climate and death, obviously different, is just people coming together in kind of solidarity to sit with each other. In the climate case, you know, it's climate crisis and kind of how do we handle that. And I think in the death case, it's so, you know, hopefully ours has got a slightly more, I can see a little green shoot. I need something, you know, a bit of greenery. There's some greenery and some green shoots of things that are coming. But I think in our conversation as well, we were talking about mess and messy careers and loss and job hunting. And I think if we are thinking the way Aldi is describing, and there is a lack of like-minded people, and that can be quite a lonely space as well. So I think for me, what we're also touching on is a solidarity here, and that's where the cafe idea somehow comes in.
Yeah.
I'd say that the difference between them, because I've been to cafes. They are more facilitated, and I think this is a little bit more emergent. Like, yes, we have a steward, but I think usually there's a little bit more yeah, like a death cafe would have someone who's perhaps death doula who would hold the space for everyone. And I think this feels a little bit more equal and emergent without having necessarily that much of a center. Like, I've never felt like the stewards are particularly heavily holding on to that role.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all that. That was, I mean, it was interesting for me to hear some of those thoughts. I think even across the groups, it sounds like you both sort of actually sort of had this weird synergy between some of the things you were sort of resisting and or gravitating towards, which is kind of interesting. Well, it's on the hour, so I should probably let you all go back to whatever it was that you were doing before you joined this little safe space, and hopefully it's not too stressful or whatever, tiring, exhausting. But yeah, we're hoping to sort of continue like exploring this community sort of canvas. We might change the methods and stuff to yeah, you know, just adapt the different stewards techniques and stuff. So, but it was kind of interesting to be the first pass at it with you guys as well, just to sort of see how it went.
Thank you, Andy, for doing what you do, because actually it is genuinely, I don't feel like anyone's actually trying to achieve anything in a way. And,
Yeah.
and that's wonderful, because it's amazing to sort of sit in a space where people are not, there's no kind of outcome that it doesn't feel like you guys are really seeking an outcome at all. So the
Right.
stewards. So in that sense, that's what's really good about this.
Great. No, that's really nice to hear. Yeah. Yeah. There's not an intention to try to, you know, whatever, monetize it or have some really like aggressive, you know, yeah. I think it's just naturally happened, and we're all kind of, even the stewards are all kind of going with the flow of where it ends up, you know, and it's fine if it just kind of has a temporary kind of lifespan and then disappears again. But it's kind of interesting that, yeah, there is this kind of appetite, and so we're interested in exploring a little bit more and just prodding around it just to see what everyone in the community is thinking, and you know, people from a lot of different backgrounds as well. So it's kind of nice to see that, a lot of cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice to see you all again. Enjoy the rest of your, well, July. We might see you in August, and you know, enjoy your Friday and the weekend ahead as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Andy.
Guys.
See you soon.
Bye.